need some research.
It smokes, it drinks, it philosophizes.
Just let me suck, please. Just a little suck on each one.
My mouth's bleeding, Bert! My mouth's bleeding!
Shall we talk now or wait?
WNBC.
Right.
WNBC.
You know that dude, the right?
Who was that?
Elliot. Elegant Offen. Oh my God, it's so fucking awful.
That dude's the worst. If you're not a Howard Stern fan, consider yourself lucky just because it means you never heard of this motherfucker. Yo, it's the Hard Out podcast, Cinephiliacs edition. And last week we did our first one of these, and it was Death of Stalin, just a single movie. But we've been debating back and forth. Should we do the double feature thing where we each bring a pick to the table? Which, fuck, I don't have a pick for next week. I didn't even think about it.
Oh, yeah, I didn't either.
We'll do that off camera then anyway. And we decided to go back to the double feature shit, in part just because each of our picks mashed up were so absurd. The combination this week is Roland Joffe's The Mission and fucking Party Monster. Two movies that probably couldn't be any more different. I mean, beautiful. I was trying to think of like ways to just thematically link the two, whatever they are.
Yeah,
no matter what the movies are. Can you find some common ground? And there might be some in there.
A little bit. I mean, it's a stretch, but you could say something intrinsic in human nature.
Right, but that's
ego
broad,
sort of shit. Know? But yeah, it's very broad.
It's nice when you get zero in on something specific and almost make like a argument as if you were writing a thesis, you know? Because most college theses you would write are bullshit, but you find ways to justify, you know, these bad narratives.
I mean, it's always interesting to contrast two things, especially two films.
Right.
You can always find some ways to do that. But yeah, I like just to find some common theme between these two. Maybe as we talk about it, we should keep that in mind. Maybe we'll arrive at something. But
all right, so for the record, my pick was The Mission. Chris picked Party Monster, which I'm fucking jealous of. I guess we can jump into the reasons we picked these.
Yes. Yeah.
I picked The Mission just because it's been a movie that I've never seen, always wanted to see. I had it in my stack of DVDs, and just the green in the middle of dead of winter, the green of the cover of De Niro crouched down with his rapier with that jungle backdrop totally sucked me in. And I just love jungle movies in general, from Apocalypto to Fitzcarraldo to Mosquito Coast to Predator. Fucking jungle movies are like, I never want to experience the jungle, like bugs and fucking
Burden of Dreams.
Yeah, everything that's out. I don't want to deal with any of that shit, malaria, none of it. But I love to experience it through film. You know what I mean? With that distance.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. You being in Wisconsin, the weather you're experiencing now, it really to transport yourself.
It just occurred to me, but I think that's what it was about that cover out of all these DVDs.
Yeah,
I was looking through that just popped out. And plus, like I said, I'd never seen it, and it's like just something kind of epic. But I looked, the runtime's not crazy. It's like 2 hours. Seems like the kind of movie they'd make now that would be 2.5 hours long and wouldn't need extra half hour. Which maybe some people would argue about this. I don't. But Party Monster, why'd you pick it?
Well, I initially watched it because Michael Ehrlich had just died, the person it's based on.
Right.
And that was in December. So when I saw the news article that he had died, it said that he had murdered someone. I was like, I didn't know that shit, that Party Monster involved the Macaulay Culkin character.
Yeah, I've never seen it either.
So that made me more intrigued. But I also, when it was, I always saw it on, rental movie store shelves and stuff. And it was always like, you see Macaulay Culkin, like, and he hadn't done something for quite a while. I forget what his last movie before that, but it was a while. And,
it was like he was still a kid.
Yeah, he was still
like
a kid.
the first movie
this was
back,
like his first as an adult, right? So that's intriguing. So I always, and just Party Monster, it's a good title,
Oh yeah.
It's based on a biography by another character in the story. I'm pretty sure it's by the James St. James dude, who was played by Seth Green. Which is interesting too. We
definitely got to talk about the casting.
We definitely talk about all that, yeah. But so that's what compelled me to was Erlich's death, and then when I watched it, I think I just told you I had watched it, and out of that, like I think you had said you wanted it to be my pick, maybe jokingly at the time, but it's like,
No,
yeah, I mean,
not jokingly.
Okay.
Dude, again,
yeah, because probably the same things. You know, you were always interested in it, having seen that it was out there, and you never got around to watching it.
And just I'd heard it was like kind of lo-fi. I didn't expect it to be as lo-fi as it was.
Same, yeah, that's
which is great.
shocking. Yes,
and which juxtaposed again against something like The Mission that won an Oscar for cinematography and shit.
Right,
you know, it's hilarious.
Great contrast.
Each other, all outdoors versus all indoors, pretty much. You know,
like something like The Mission and say Dances with Wolves or something would be too much of the same almost. You know,
that's
like back to back. If I had just randomly picked that, you know, I mean, you never know because we just each pick our things.
These are random. People should know they're not curated. So there's that. But it's best when it happens like this, and they're just wildly different.
Yes, a few like that just were great.
It's like the best mashup song.
Patty Drives the Bus,
like some country song and some other song you wouldn't expect, or some shit. You know, the Beatles and Wu-Tang, that kind of shit.
Before we get into those, I wanted to mention one thing I was telling you about offline. We reviewed The Death of Stalin in our last session. And I meant to mention something in that because we got into just discussing Russia, modern Russia, etc. And, you know, the censorship and, you know, issues with democracy and everything there. And I had meant to mention that The Death of Stalin was banned in Russia by their Ministry of Culture. It was like officially banned there, which is interesting because, you know, it speaks to how much they still revere Stalin, you know, where generally the world sees him as a monster for the gulags. And, you know, just you saw what went down in the movie, you know,
revere or fear him.
Yeah, that's true, too. But
here's the thing, too, about anytime this is the whole issue with censorship in general. It just makes you look weak, like someone who can't handle a joke at their expense or people talking about you behind your back or whatever. That's like the human macro equivalent, you know, or micro equivalent, I guess. And it's pathetic.
Yeah.
Like it's funny because you're exacting power on people, but it's like you're revealing that you're a coward, essentially.
China, I don't know if it was long lasting, but they had banned Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I just watched again recently. I mentioned to you. They banned it because of Bruce Lee, the way he was presented. And it's just like,
they all hated on Bruce Lee because he was teaching fucking, now you want to claim him and shit, right?
Right.
But at the time we rejected him because he was teaching Westerners. Fucking.
That's some dangerous ground, though, banning things because it makes someone look,
God.
It's one thing if it's libelous straight up, but this is fiction. Everyone knows it's fiction.
This is what we've talked about with Jack, where people on the right wing are savaging it and shit on IMDb because they think it's an attack on them because they identify with them somehow or something. But it's that issue that every character isn't representative of these stupid political movements that they might identify with. Get the fuck
Jack
over
doesn't even necessarily represent most neo-Nazis, much less conservatives.
Bruce Lee does not represent China, the state of China and shit. It's stupid.
Right, exactly.
Get over yourselves, you fucking dorks. It's not about you. None of these movies are about you as bad as you want them to be. They're about
I will always default to freedom of speech, that people should be able to make whatever films they want, and people should be able to see it if they want, and not just films, anything. You know, it should just be completely. It's an inalienable right. You know, that it's just intrinsic. Like, to me, as much as like the murder is bad, you know, blocking someone's ability to communicate an idea or to receive an idea should just be, you know, verboten. We shouldn't even consider making that
sacred ground that you can't even. It's not even up for discussion.
Right. Yeah, that's not the general rule for the large.
Well, the thing is, even if the state doesn't do it, then the people will come along and do it with all these Tipper Gores and shit we got nowadays. It's so funny. Everyone attacking our shit is like, this is leftist liberal propaganda, and it's like, there's a few things I kind of agree with Jack on in the film. Not to talk about
the
our
cancel
fucking
culture
movie
shit we're
during
talking
this.
about. I know.
The cancel culture
But yeah,
shit,
which
the
we were just
censorship,
discussing, essentially. Yeah.
Anyway, back to these.
So what do you want to talk
That's what
about
we
first?
do.
The mission? The mission, or what the fuck did I pick? Party Monster.
Wake my kid up and shit.
Maybe the mission first. It's a bit more.
Yeah, let's talk about the mission.
Dry or academic.
Yeah, it's not as. What did you think? Just overall impression?
I mean, definitely a great film. Like, I mean, it was in like the territory of like a Dances with Wolves or something of that nature. Maybe not quite. It didn't quite get there as.
It's not as personal.
Yeah, like that's one thing. If I had one criticism of it, it might even be that the relationships between the natives and them somehow even become more like sort of specific or detailed or something. It felt like it could have used it just like maybe that extra 20 minutes of something to like more of a. I mean, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just like that's how it really would have played out. And I don't know. I felt like
yeah, what kind of stuff do you mean, maybe? Like, what do you think that 20 minutes should have had in it, possibly? Not to put you on the spot.
Well, just more like a connective tissue between the characters, the
like it was almost
people.
just too efficient in
yeah, exactly.
Just how they ingratiated themselves to the natives.
Yeah. But
I thought it was pretty effective though, because how he played, the way music was the way in, that was pretty elegant actually. Like to ingratiate himself immediately. For people who don't know and haven't seen the movie, Jeremy Irons, man, fucking people were so crazy back then compared to now. Now we're like, dude, there's like days getting out of bed is hard to me. These motherfuckers climb like cliffs of waterfalls and shit with no ropes, like just. God damn, people were true savages. The most humane, civilized people were savages compared to us.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome.
I guess what I'll say, though, is I just felt like there was like, like say when De Niro's character was brought into the fold, I feel like it kind of skipped time a bit, I guess is what I'm getting at. You know what I mean? Like it didn't feel like it needed it. I'm just saying that's why it's not Dances with Wolves to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Not quite as sweeping and epic and, like it, but not that it needs to be compared to that at all, but I'm just saying it's in that territory.
Well, I've seen like reviews of like Ebert and shit gave it like a 2.5, didn't love it. Some people shit on it. Critics.
I did think it was great. I loved it. I did love it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fucking magnificent.
I don't want to start off with it. That just naturally led me because I brought up, other movies.
Dude, we made a $25,000 movie in our basement because compared, I'm not going to say we're bitches compared to like Roland Jaffe, but I don't got it in me.
Am.
Yeah, these dudes go
compared
to watch
Werner
some of
Herzog trying to drag a boat over a mountain in the fucking jungle. No way.
Bless these motherfuckers. I'm glad they do.
I'm glad they're out there, but I'm not one of them.
Me. Not even. It's not even like I want to do it, but don't have it in me. I just no.
It doesn't even appeal. Yeah,
sounds awful. Right, so crazy.
Like because we know there's a million stories you can tell too. Like why does it have to be this one about that's just so fucking challenging to pull off? Some people that's the whole point, but to me, I'm just turned on by enough different things that it doesn't have to be this one project that I have to like pull off this.
I'm not testing myself.
Yes,
through my art. I feel like they're testing themselves.
Yes,
how far can I take it? Werner Herzog, even when they're shooting on a volcano and find out it's active and could blow any minute, and they make the decision to keep shooting on a volcano and willing to die for their art, essentially. Like, no.
I'm not willing to die for my art.
No. I will die for cheeseburgers and weed and booze and shit, but I'm not dying for art. Fuck, that's like 12th on the list of shit I'll die for. It's like right before my family. No, I'm just kidding. That's fucking horrible. No, but partly I think this movie's just not concerned as much with emotions, and I mean individual emotions.
Yeah,
it's very emotional. There were times I got like I don't know if I cried, but I definitely was there. Just so many effective cutaway shots of kids watching.
Yes,
this
the
shit
kids
happen.
especially got to me, especially near the end, like when the a battle was going down and stuff, and they were like jumping when the gunshots went off and stuff like that. That hit me.
Always, man.
But yeah.
But
just
here's what I'm getting at. But it wasn't about somebody's one man's plight so much, and even these two characters. One of the criticisms I've seen a lot is how it's unemotional. Like this is a wooden performance by De Niro, et cetera. But I was kind of like,
nah, that's his character.
These guys were stoics.
Yeah,
like they climbed those fucking cliffs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They're not.
That's the type
people
of
like us who show their emotions. Like to them, that's
De Niro,
show
both of them. Yeah, in their own ways, definitely were very much stoic. Like.
And how even when De Niro arrives in the village and the people do come to him and put their hands on him and accept him, and he has gone through this crucible of penance, of hauling this net.
Yeah, I was going to bring that sequence up.
Armor behind him on this
like a Hades, Sisyphean, like dragging the boulder up and having to go back and get it again.
Truly amazing shit. There might not be anything Dances with Wolves as dope as that.
That's true. I will agree with that.
So.
I mean, it might even be just more a thing that I saw Dances with Wolves in a theater and I was a certain age and all this shit. You know what I mean?
Dances with Wolves tugs at your heartstrings for sure.
Yeah.
But it's almost manipulative in that way. It's like this movie doesn't try to manipulate you at all. It just shows you the shit. I haven't seen it in ages.
So I think I did see a glimpse of Dances with Wolves recently, and it was like with the voiceover and everything. It kind of did feel
I
more
love that
movie.
This it's fucking.
Me too.
There's no reason to compare them other than like their epics and shit.
No. But that's everything's like
dude, the way this shit was just directed, the shot selection, the fucking the
cinematography,
the
was
mix
amazing.
of mediums and closes and wide shots. I mean, just the language of cinema that was employed and shit was just fucking spot on, dude. Go on if you got something.
Dude, but it's gone.
Weed. One thing that was kind of interesting about this shit was it felt so true in that it's almost, we talk a lot of at times in writing how theme is best worked out in that Hegelian sense where it's thesis versus antithesis, and a synthesis is probably the closest approximation of truth between these two opposing ideas. This shit to me was, and this Black History Month just kicked off, MLK versus Malcolm X, when it comes time at the end to make the decision of whether or not they're going to fight to save this mission or if they're just going to non-violently protest, essentially. And Jeremy Irons, the preacher, selects non-violence while ex-fucking mercenary slave hunter De Niro is like, fuck that, I'm picking the sword back up like some Unforgiven shit. The kid actually brings it to him, which is awesome.
This kid had found it, cleaned it off and shit, and that was beautiful.
Pretty sure it was the sword from the armor set.
Yeah, I think so.
That he had hauled, which is fucking amazing. And the sword, meaning the sword he killed his brother with, probably, shit, really. Right?
Yeah, that the fact that it was from that Hades, like penance and everything. It's truly mythic. It is like straight out of a.
And that kid brings it to him. Fight for us. That's what the kid is asking. Fight for us. And
that's an interesting discussion.
He just thinks it's all God's plan, and we have to be better and bigger than that. Right. And at the end, here's what I was getting at though. Before, the truth is, it doesn't matter. Non-violence or fight back, you're gonna fucking lose and get crushed in the same outcome. You all get shot and your shit gets burned, and they take it and they make money off it. Boom, the end.
And some of the Europeans, argued, why don't they just go into the jungle, deeper into the jungle, and they can avoid this whole conflict and live for another generation or two or whatever.
Just be on the run because this encroaching machine is
like that.
Grinding.
Shit speaks to me very strongly. Like Braveheart was all about that. That the British were moving in, and you see that around the world now.
Dances with Wolves, and that's how the movie ends. They're all just migrating. Sorry,
and the U.S. started that way. That we. It's to me, it's all about a group of people who are a community. The idea that someone else can just say, no, that you're part of us. Like even the Civil War is interesting in that respect. I was thinking about that. Like,
or die, assimilate or die.
Yeah, like you're going to stay part of this union, or we're going to fight over it. It's a weird thing. Like,
we haven't even log lined these really. For people who don't know, the mission is essentially the story of these two men, one a Jesuit priest who is trying to introduce the natives of, it's basically Brazil, Paraguay, what was it, Ecuador maybe. They shot it in Colombia, but back in the 1600s, I think, or the 16th century. So this Jesuit priest is he's a missionary, like all the Jesuits are. So he's like,
something.
yeah, all right. So he's trying to introduce the natives to Christianity and convert them. That's what the Jesuit order is all about. De Niro, meanwhile, is a slave trader. So he's catching these fucking natives and selling them as slaves and everything until he kills his brother in this jealous fit of rage over a woman. And then the priest, the Jesuit priest, Jeremy Irons, goes to him and offers him penance. And he takes him on this journey, like we said, hauling the fucking armor and all that to the mission where De Niro becomes a Jesuit priest. But then all the political shit starts kicking in with the church and Portugal and Spain on who owns these missionary lands and if these people can be enslaved or not. Fucking vile human bullshit.
They just claim it. It's ours now. Fuck off.
So eventually they're driven to the point where they have this choice. Do we got to fight these motherfuckers or do we just let them take it over? And
there was a great point where Jeremy Irons, right?
Yeah, so, Jeremy. Yeah, he was perfect.
Feel uncertain. Where he just said, is it true that might makes right? And if so, I don't have the energy for it. Essentially, like I forget his exact line, but like I don't have the fight in me.
I can't play that game even.
I can't exactly. Homie, don't play that exactly. And in the very end, there was a great line too. There was something like, "The world is thus," and it was the colonialists after the aftermath, where it was basically a bloodbath and a slaughter, and did it have to go down this way? And one of them says, "The world is thus," and then I don't know what title he had, but basically the top dog there with his powdered white wig and shit says, "No, thus have we made the world." Thus have I made it, because he made the decision. He had opportunities. Yeah, he chose to take this path, and he at one point he was asked, "Why don't you try and convince the king to just calm down with this shit?" And he said, "I've already tried." Whether he did or not, you see that all the time at in work environments and things like that. Already tried. Yeah, it's
Where he's just passing the buck.
Did you try? Yeah, exactly. Can you? If you really just gave it that extra bit of effort, could you have?
Well, part of it is
awarded this whole thing.
And we talk a lot in this podcast about power and leverage and shit. And this movie is a great example of just how power can play out in all these different ways, and how when it's concentrated, again, how gross it is that this guy, this king across the ocean decided what's going to happen to these fucking people in this riverbank in a jungle. Is get the fuck out of here.
Totally.
Any of us accept that system, dude. That we can send drones and blow shit up at some fucking wedding party in a desert somewhere fucking thousands of miles. Any of it's nuts. Unacceptable. And then you get this guy, the middle management, like you said, who has to come over, is actually a pretty vital character in the whole thing. Kind of frames it, which is a strange device.
Which character, sorry?
That magistrate dude who came to make the decision, the guy you're talking about.
Yeah.
He gets to decide if the church is going to protect these lands. And he basically worked for the church, it felt like. I wasn't sure exactly who. Like, he was almost arbitrating between Spain and Portugal.
I feel like he was more
the king, you said. So.
Yeah, I think he was more governmental.
Yeah.
Like he was trying to convince the Jesuits, to play ball or they'll die.
Right. But here's the thing, how someone in power like that can string you along too. Like, if he knew all along it was a foregone conclusion and they was going to take him, then fuck you with going through all this dog and pony show. It makes us feel like we have a chance that we're going to change our mind and shit, and we have hope. Fuck you for dangling hope over. So that's the worst shit to do.
Do you think he was like, to me, that note, I actually specifically I wondered if, like, is he saying that it really was just a pony show? Like, why even bother with it then? What's the point of bothering with it? Or is it that he
maybe it's just he wanted to see the jungle and the country. I don't know.
Right. Or that he thought he could convince them to vacate. You know what I'm saying?
that was probably part of it too. If he can convince them to peacefully do it, but once he saw
so it wasn't necessarily that it was just purely just like doing it just to be a dick or whatever. Like
it was
that.
the only option.
Yeah, but it is interesting because like like did he really feel like he had power, or was he just communicating what the king had commanded and it's going to happen regardless, even outside of his own control and shit? Yeah. I actually, at the end, at least he had guilt. You know, some of these motherfuckers, you know, it was good to show that he at least regretted it and shit. You know, that last note, he seemed to realize, it dawned on him what had gone down. But
you know, that tribe still exists.
Doesn't forgive any of it.
I watched a making of thing.
Really
Roland Joffe was talking about how they actually got the tribe in Colombia, which is a different tribe, but not as decimated, but still hanging on kind of and shit, you know? And the process of how they convinced these people to come, basically money and not much money, but money to them that was huge, you know what I mean? Because they're so fucking poor. And essentially, man, it was crazy though. They like transported this like 1,000 miles away. They took like 286 of these tribe members in planes, trains, and automobiles. Their asses like 1,000 miles away. For them. I want to just see a movie of like one of those kids, a coming of age story of a tribal kid being taken on a plane and all this shit to be in this fucking movie with movie stars. And she's like, what? De Niro and shit. Like, what the universe converging on this movie set in fucking Colombia with these tribes and everyone wearing old timey clothes and fucking makeup and shit. It's so fucking weird.
How did those fucking white wigs catch on, man?
I don't know.
What the fuck were they thinking?
Is it because you could see if there were lice in them or some shit? Because they're powdered and white or
maybe
something?
half of them were bald and didn't like it, so that like this way they could all just like, if you go bald, you don't have to worry.
I feel like Rogan covered this once.
Did he? Interesting. I know he got into the high heels and shit. Which was originally a male fashion.
Right.
Fucking hilarious.
Buckles and high heels and shit.
Chuck Lowe.
Who the fuck is that?
You know, he was the guy who played basically, what was his fucking name? I should have looked up. Let me just look this shit up real quick. He was De Niro's old sort of, you know,
Chuck
like
Lowe.
Partner or something along those lines, and he ended up being the one arguing against the natives and stuff.
Oh yeah. In the movie. All right.
I almost can remember his character's name, but I got to start just having this shit up in front of me. I'll have notes like I don't even.
He's the guy who's arguing for. He's the capitalist pig, essentially.
Yes. Well, he's great. He was in Goodfellas. He was fucking that wig salesman dude.
Yeah,
you know,
Bernie or whatever.
Yes, who like brought the whole heist idea to them, but couldn't get his cut and shit.
It was him.
Got off.
I knew I noticed him. I was like,
yes, it was the same actor, and I looked him up, and he was fucking De Niro's landlord. How awesome is
in
that?
real life?
In real life.
That's how he got in the movies?
Yes.
Amazing.
According to what I read, that De Niro, like, you gotta fucking be in these movies, man. And he's been in a bunch of shit.
That's like that My Dinner with Andre one I was telling you about. It was like a guard at the fucking museum or some shit that one of them thought looked cool.
Yes.
He becomes the waiter.
What was that one recently? Fucking God damn, I'm so fucking awful with remembering names and shit anymore.
Something like Gary Poulter.
Is it Money Heist? No.
Huh?
God damn. Adam Sandler. He played the jeweler in it.
Oh, Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems, yes. One of the main antagonists, and that was a dude that they just found on a subway, and just like, you just look awesome, you know, like, so the casting director just randomly noticed him, and he was one of the best things in it. Yes.
KFC managers, their fucking lead. Let's just go to a town and just drive around and cast the movie out of the town. I love it.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
It's so much more compelling to me to watch.
As much as I hate doing shit, I might do that. If we had enough money, like if I had Soderbergh money and I just drove around a town, no COVID and shit.
Did you mention, what was his name? Gary Poulter or whatever?
Yeah, from Joe.
Yeah, you mentioned him. Yes.
All-timer.
Classic.
I mean.
I've been amongst us. Yeah, all time. Yes.
It's breathtaking.
But yeah, Chuck Lowe, dude, he's fucking great.
And what a piece of shit character. You wanted to smash that fucking dude selling out these kids, and they aren't human, they're animals. You basically sound like Cactus Jack. Fucking monster. He has a voice. No animal could sing like that child. We could teach a parrot to sing. Doesn't make it a human. Ugh. What a piece of shit. Capitalism is the worst. We talk about how we're not anti-capitalist or whatever, but at its heart,
unchecked capitalism.
yeah, but just that cruel.
Yeah, it's motivators and stuff. Or I mean, it's not even necessarily its motivators, because, like, for example, the way I employ capitalism is to just better my life. You know, it's not to like,
Exactly.
you know, yeah,
Exactly.
bring harm to anyone else or to.
I guess the term is exploitation.
Yes.
Is disgusting, and capitalism very easily skews towards exploitation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But if you can, that could be, and I think much of what we currently have that serves as capitalism is somewhat benign. You know what I mean? Like, for the most, I think there's just certain corrections we can make,
Right.
that protect everyone from being victimized.
If you want to know what all of them are, see our Death of Stalin episode.
Right, yeah. Anyway, yeah, Party Monster. Let me look at my notes. I did take notes for both of these, so let me just rattle off my notes for the mission, unless you had more to get into.
No, I didn't take any notes, but
the great line at the very beginning. I mean, great in the sense of how awful it is and telling it is. They're now free to be enslaved.
mm-hmm.
Free to be enslaved. What a fucking sentence.
The mental gymnastics these motherfuckers take.
Exactly.
It's almost like
and
the
I love
mental
that's what they
battering
default
rams.
to.
You know, they just crash through any reason and logic and empathy and humanity and shit.
Yeah, like they default to enslaving and shit. You know, it's like anytime that I'm on the fence about the veracity of a certain opinion or narrative, I'll default to the one that's most benign, you know?
Yes. Least damaging.
Right. Like, let's say, I don't believe this, but let's say I was one of these people like Cactus Jack that doesn't see, you know, certain races as human. Let's just take a person
this
who
guy,
believes that.
Chuck Lowe.
Yeah, this character believes that. Or maybe suspect. I'm just saying it's the same thing we always talk about, being convinced they're not human. Like,
right.
Even if you think it's possible they're not, how about defaulting to the thing that's more, you know, benign and empathic, and, you know, just
even what do you think human is?
Why,
you're it, but
even if
not,
they are
like,
animals, is that how you treat animals?
Right.
I don't even treat animals as badly as they treat you. Why does it being an animal in your mind?
I remember tweeting or posting on Facebook or something a long time ago. One of my memories on Facebook popped up. That's what it was, and I had posted years ago that one day the aliens are going to arrive here and they're going to treat us based on how we treat lower life forms.
Animals,
and
yeah.
We're fucked. They're going to eat us and subjugate us and fucking domesticate us. And
you're not saying they're going to determine how they treat us based on the way we treat them. But
depends on how high-minded they are. And shit, you know?
Like, it might even be more likely that they do, but not because they're basing it on.
If they're punitive, they will.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying they might do it because that's just the nature. Right. You know, they'll do it because we do it, and the same reasons we do
it. Like
if
sharks had legs and could breathe air, they do it and shit.
Exactly.
Too, you know?
Which is what I believe Stephen Hawking's. That was his opinion, that we should not be sending signals out to try and find alien life because most likely they're, you know,
it's inviting the vampire in, essentially.
Yeah, you're bringing the predator over. Yeah, exactly.
Has any sci-fi movie done that yet? Like Contact was like they used the Hitler's first transmission, but
they were super benign, even to the point of not thinking we were prepared to join the, you know, intergalactic whatever, you know, federation or whatever. But yeah,
I love that idea.
Been something about SETI bringing
something that sends a signal out altruistically that comes back to bite him. It brings
that'd be a good just sci-fi short story.
Totally.
Audio Morricone did the soundtrack for the mission.
Oh, amazing! I meant to mention that. I gotta start taking notes again, I guess, for these.
Did you know that for one thing, he passed away recently too? Rest in peace. Like in the last year.
His soundtrack was great too. It was fucking great. Sorry, go on.
But did you know that Mike Patton's record label signed Ennio Morricone? Mike Patton from Faith No More. Yeah.
Mike Patton's a fucking goat.
Damn, I'm trying to remember.
He's a holy clown to me,
Ipecac
dude.
Records is the name of his.
Perfect.
Yes.
Mickey P.
Yes, he's a fucking god, man.
So few people
there's a line I wrote down.
Nobody knows.
I know. Go look up Faith No More. Start with Angel Dust, probably, right?
Everyone knows who Travis Scott is, but not fucking Mike Patton.
No shit.
No offense, Travis Scott. If you ever...
Yeah. No. But I'm just saying though, this stuff is like it's just tragic that it's missed.
Right. exactly.
that people consume.
Don't begrudge anyone anything.
No. And I honestly, I haven't even listened to Travis Scott shit, so I can't speak to it. But
I
will.
I'm just saying that anybody knows anyone more
just
than they
can't
know
keep
Mike
up.
Patton. Like
Right.
Mike Patton's
That's
like
the thing. We're just lamenting that.
Yes.
Yeah, because I believe he actually is documented as having, I mean, like world record range, and it's not like operatic, type,
right,
putting on airs type shit. It's more. It's got this extra like edge to it.
Stank,
the
dude.
character
So much
to
weird
stank,
stank, dude.
Kind of characters in a way, and a lot of his shit.
Speaking of stank, where are we at with Party Monster? Oh, you still got notes? What else?
I got a few more. I'll rat them off. One was a line that I don't even remember the context, but it was awesome. Where someone had told, I believe it was the Jesuit character. Goddamn, I'm already spacing his name again.
Jeremy Irons.
Where they said, "You think your cloth protects me?" And he says, "My cloth protects you." Do you remember that moment?
Yes.
I can't remember the specifics, but I jotted it down.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I do remember that line there.
But anyway, Choclo, when the kid cleaned off the sword and gave back to Rodrigo. I just ate at a place called Rodrigo's today too on the way back from the dentist, or
Nice.
grabbed a shrimp burrito from there. They're fucking amazing. Oh, I was thinking, you know what they should have done? They should have just fought the fuckers at the cliff's edge. Just wait for them there when they're trying to climb the cliff.
The whole time I was thinking, your strategy
you
is
just pick them off. Stupid. They were like, I mean, it would be a whole different outcome, I'm sure.
Yeah, because the first guys, I mean,
that's the
all right, for those who are just
defend.
listening, it's literally these sheer cliffs at waterfalls that, the opening scene. Oh my God.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh,
that
the crucifixion. Yeah, I had seen that before. When I watched, like, I remember seeing some moments from this, like, I believe a friend.
The film opens with these natives crucifying this Jesuit priest and just setting the cross with his body on it in the river, and it just goes down into these whitewater rapids and over this fucking immense waterfall. It's amazing. It is one of the.
At first, I thought that was De Niro's character, and he was just going to like wash up somewhere and then it'd continue. But that was like, oh shit, this dude.
It was like the first Jesuit that went up there. So then Jeremy Irons goes up, and he crawls up by himself, and he just
he
played
a recorder or flute or whatever. Yeah,
it was
like,
beautiful, and they disarmed everything. Like, what if
one guy broke it, and like,
what if cops showed up playing like a saxophone? Or some shit.
Totally.
Like, you're just calming everyone and shit.
From now on, any domestic dispute has to be a jam session.
Yeah, like Dave Matthews
just bring
shows
instruments
up.
And
just bring in Dave Matthews and Amos Lee and just cool this shit out.
Totally, yes. Jack Johnson.
Yeah. What if the cops showed up blasting Jack Johnson?
Yes.
For real.
Yeah.
Just bring it down, man.
Just instead of tear gas, they throw in just weed grenades.
Fucking Cloak of Elven Kind playing and shit. And this crew pulls up.
Let's see. But yeah, they could have totally picked them off at that cliff. So as Jay was pointing, that there was a, to get to this plateau that the natives lived on, you had to like free climb this sheer cliff that had water just splashed on you from these.
Only like 5 dudes at a time could get up.
Yes, so
they're hauling cannons.
You could just pick them off with those bows and arrows and shit one at a time, or wait for a few to get up there, and then they're helping like the other guys, the opposite of rappel, whatever that is, ascend the face with ropes and shit. You kill the dudes at top, and the ones on the ropes are fucked, and they all fall. You could just totally. That was a perfect spot.
You know what I thought? I thought that same thing, and I was like, this is where it could have used extra 5 minutes of movie. Actually, they should have had a little victory there and beat them off. But then the fuckers just went around, and that's the point. You can never escape. They will eventually come get your ass and shit. You know.
Yes, exactly. I was thinking that too. That they just are like, there's so many that like maybe even they have to like go back, lick their wounds, and bring back.
And that it's inevitable. It's going to happen later. All you did was postpone the inevitable by beating them and shit, and getting this great victory. So you're still fucking doomed.
Yeah, my last 2 lines were about the or notes were about when the kid, especially being affected by the kids when the battle went down, and how like when the gunshots went, like, because it's also arbitrary, whether you happen to be an adult when this happens or you happen to be a kid.
Right.
And to be a kid when this kind of thing, this like tide of like just red tide comes through your area and the fucking outside for it. Because, for generations, they were fine. They just went on living. And,
I mean, maybe there's other tribes they warred with.
Yeah, that's true. But still, well, even then in those scenarios, I'm just saying, like, some make it to adulthood without that necessarily happening. But then, like, those who just happen to be kids when the shit
they were like on the
goes
same
down.
level technologically. It was a fair fight. These motherfuckers come along with technology and gunpowder and shit. You're fucked. It's like if the aliens come for us and shit, they're gonna have superior firepower and technology, and you're just fucked.
All right, well, that's all my notes. The rest we already touched on.
Dude, I'm so glad I watched it.
Party Monster.
Amazing fucking movie.
Yes, dude, it is a hole filled in my, and it was, I didn't know what to expect, but I loved it.
More, dude.
I feel bad about the whole Dances with Wolves thing. It's stupid to even like compare them, really. But
no, it's valid, man. I mean, that's the thing. There's certain subgenres and shit, you know.
But there are things in this that were just like unique to it, and just like I'll always remember like the penance shit with Dragon, his like old fucking armor and sword, and it being reclaimed and given back to him to fight him. It's so epic.
It's like mythic. It's like Conan pushing the wheel type. It's almost fantasy shit.
Yes,
it's so epic.
Yes.
Yeah,
and the way it ended, where totally, the way it ended with you know, De Niro's character trying to, like, he had set up this elaborate, had even stolen the gunpowder and shit from the enemy to set up this elaborate trap when they finally showed up on the, you know, the home front to pull this rope, and it like blows his shit up, but one of the enemy had already cut it, and he just got gunned down. It was just, and then
the reason he could cut it was because he saw a kid that got shot and he ran. He had to make that decision to run to help the kid or blast these dudes. But again, it was all inevitable. You would have blasted those dudes and more would have came, and it's just. But
more to the point, to just like the way it, like, just that moment where he was killed, like where he knew it was coming. He had this look on his face, like, oh, here we go, this is it. It's like a firing line, basically.
Yeah.
And then to look over and see Jeremy Irons and the natives just taking their tactic, which was to just march as a procession.
Gandhi shit.
And and they got gunned down too, of course, you know. And it really was. It's just like was super just real. There was no hero at the end that saved everyone.
There's no right way to go. You're fucked. It's a choose your own adventure book that fucks you in the end, no matter where you go.
I don't know where we are at on the timer, but I'm starting to wonder if these should be one episode per movie, because I don't know how much time we have left for Party Monster, or what there is even to say about. I mean,
maybe it's
launch
perfect
us in all directions. But so since I picked it, how about you start with your thoughts on it? Well, I'll give you
It took me a while.
Or no, actually, we're going to do the opposite, where you actually explain the basic log line. But I kind of did. I already set up.
You know, sometimes it's rare in life, but sometimes you meet someone and your first impression of them, you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
But then they say and do something that kind of interests you.
Yeah.
And they kind of end up getting roped in. That's how I felt watching this, because at first I was like, I love lo-fi, but this just feels lazy.
It was like made for TV, sort of what you would call made for TV, but now TV's way better.
On like camcorder student film shit.
Yes, because TV now is
eventually
different from when made for TV was coined, you know, which was much more.
A lot of what it did, there was a lot of intention behind the shot selection shit. It was just execution. I started thinking, what if Paul Thomas Anderson made this shit?
Yeah,
it would be amazing.
It would be insane.
Or Harmony Korine or something, script, right? Like,
because a lot of the writing in the script was actually pretty. Like, I watched it again after, you know, since we were going to do this, and
seriousness or something, or just a all-in dedication or something that a PTA or somebody, a true.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like it had
I know
all
what you
these
mean.
elements, but it was just. It felt so hacky.
It was shot almost too much, hacky, kind of in a playful way, too much or something, where it could have been a little.
Like a bunch of rich kids got together, fucking around, or something.
But, it was too much of a party making it or something. Almost.
I don't want to diminish it.
I know, because I mean, we love shit like a Civilization of Maxwell Bright and shit, which just kind of reminded me a little bit.
The Karen Carpenter Superstar with the Barbies and shit. I mean, come on.
And it was kind of weirdly constructed. In the way like the whole murder thing was played out and stuff like that.
Well, even the casting, the performances, all of it feels off a little.
Yes.
Yeah, it's because of that. Eventually, it becomes more compelling to me, kind of.
Well, you mentioned you saw the Geraldo Rivera's fucking show where he had the. I actually
John Stamos was a talk show host in the thing.
Yeah, he kind of simulated that. Yes, exactly. I actually had seen one of those too, the Geraldo ones, by chance. It was recommended to me by the algorithm after having seen this once. So maybe it knew that I had seen it and thought I'd be interested. So I did watch it, one of them too. And after having watched it and now watching Party Monster again, I actually bought in more, having seen the Gerardo one, having seen how they really behave and shit.
Yeah,
like I actually bought it more than I did the
they're
first
not
time.
real people at all. So that was part of it too. The performances at first felt so superficial and shit.
But then you see
there's
the real people have this kind of.
Well, there's a great line even where Macaulay Culkin's character says to Seth Green's character, James St. James or whatever.
Yeah, that's a great name too.
We aren't superficial, are we? Or something like that. And he's like, are you kidding? We're like, basically, essentially, we're gods of superficiality.
Yes.
Shit. Like we are. That's our whole thing is being as superficial as possible. So in that sense, that strange, weird debutante Studio 54 gay accent kind of thing, like who really talks like that? Oh, darling.
It's
like,
the whole
you're from like Brooklyn, but you're like, darling. It's just all affected bullshit.
Or like Macaulay Culkin's character, I hope I got his name right, Michael Ehrlich. He was from the Midwest, I believe, like a regular suburban home, Now, some people, though, might argue that that's their true selves, that they're found in this whole Brooklyn shit, which there's something to that. But I think there's definitely.
But none of these people were real people who related to each other. And so no one was ever vulnerable to each other. It's always about just punking each other. And it's almost a Jackass crowd, but not as endearing, like because they're so superficial. The Jackass crowd, I feel like they're passionate Viking.
Yeah, they're way more connected in some way.
Emotional, and
it's almost like all this superficiality like insulated themselves from each other. They never really
like Jackass dudes are truly vulnerable all the time. They make themselves vulnerable, but there's no vulnerability.
The James St. James and Michael Ehrlich dudes were kind of best friends, but they sort of hated each other and rivaled each other. We're always like taking shots at each other, and especially Macaulay Culkin. So there was some great shit in there as far as that goes.
Oh, dude,
just one-upsmanship and. Yeah, I definitely appreciated it more the second time.
Just
the writing
snarky, sniping fuckers, dude. Just,
I did jot a few lines.
And it's that preemptive shit, though. They're all hurt people, and all that, the pageantry, the clothes, and all that. It's all emotional armor, exactly. Force fields and shit.
I'm not addicted to drugs. I'm addicted to glamour. Shit like that.
Yes.
But it's my birthday, and I want a blood feast. Go and commit your own murder.
That's a good one. The nonchalance of it all, just and the drugs is part of it. You got to.
Oh, definitely. Well, that's the kind of the biggest pitfall with it all.
Yes, exactly. The road to access leads to. That's the big thing in the William Blake quote that Jim Morrison made famous again. The road to access leads to the palace of wisdom. James St. James says to Michael Alec, but it's kind of like you corrupted him with that. And there's another line where he subverts it. The road to excess leads to fabulousness or something like that, right?
Yeah. And one of his sort of acolytes also fucked it up and said glamour or something.
It's about their values. They put fabulousness over wisdom and shit as their value system's trash. That's really the indictment of it, I think. They didn't give a fuck about how it is hilarious too how they had it down though. Like when James St. James, who again he wrote the book, so this shit was all based on that. He knew what the fuck he was talking about when he's like, when you get paparazzi pictures taken, you want to stand to the right. Yeah. Because then it's James St. James and blah, 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 are seen every time it's in the press.
So you'll appear on the left.
You're the star.
Will come first. Exactly. It was, and that scene I actually jotted down as one of the.
It's brilliant.
And it was in a donut shop. And they're just like, Macaulay Culkin's fresh off the bus and says, I want you to teach me how to be fucking fabulous and whatever. And so he's like, they start going around the shop acting like they're at a party and you need to act like you can't find your friend. You can't find your friend. And then you finally meet, oh, I found you now. And then you leave or whatever.
It's brilliant. Like those motherfuckers could probably run a marketing firm and crush because they know human beings, how to manipulate them and shit.
It had some great moments too, like making out in the dumpster and shit like that. Like, when they were running from paying the taxi fare, they're just end up in a dumpster and they start making out in it.
Wilder Valderrama.
Yeah, fucking Fez. Yes. So yeah, throughout it had pretty great moments, man. I was like, but it's fucking weird, I mean, especially for Imagine Paul or someone watching this shit
by some teenager or something.
Yeah. And the whole scene too is just like,
oh god,
like
I mean, we used to do a little of that peacock.
Yeah, I went to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which they worshipped. You know, I wore drag at the Rocky Horror Show and shit once, and it was fun too. It was fun, like, but
was it when Bram Stoker's Dracula came out? Was that the movie you and Hunan the Barbarian wore black robes and upside down crosses and shit too?
Just to fuck with people, of course. We weren't really.
But I'm just saying that kind of shit, though. Outlandish costumes to get a rise in
reactions, rise out of people
to prove that your reality doesn't confine me, man. That's essentially what they're saying and shit with all this. It's LARPing and shit.
Well, we've worn like wigs to shit and like elephant tie, and so it's all that. Like it actually, you're the life of the party, man. When you do that, when you're
right, but it's like it's just this game of one-upsmanship that became insane, ridiculous Mario looking shit. Like, I mean, the costumes. I'm not gonna knock it if that's what gets you off and shit. That's cool. Wearing all this great, like you spend all your time on fashion and making shit or whatever. That's cool. If you always say it's an expression of you, but there's no you there.
Right.
That's the thing. Make sure there's some you to express. That's all.
And you got to have your house in order. Like it's cool to go do that. Like, if you just go do that once.
Ain't in order either, but
well, I mean, just know at least that you got food. Like they were like some of them, they especially their acolytes and shit
run from a taxi fare and shit
and stuff. And right, exactly. So if you can have your shit in order at least to some degree, then go do that and have fun with it. But if it just takes over your life, because obviously the whole world couldn't be like that. You know what I mean? If we all did that, it'd be beautiful if we did get to a point eventually where everything's automated. You can just do what the fuck you want. It doesn't matter. Food's on the table. Everything's economized to the point that, everyone it can just survive without like becoming what they became in the end of this. That's kind of the whole cautionary tale of it all, is that,
well, to me again, it's about the drugs. If the drugs weren't in the scene, can you have the scene without the drugs?
Like that moment where they were that probably not. I mean, I know like booze alone, I
can't podcast without having a drink.
Exactly. Or like when people go out and stuff, you have it just lubricates shit. But the problem with these, like and booze does take people.
I get the masks and the costumes though. It's not you. You're not vulnerable. That's what I'm saying. When you ask someone to dance, you're not facing rejection. This character in this costume is facing rejection, which is kind of lame, but at the same time, it's like if you're not hurting anybody, you're all just it's like you said, the drugs though. It's the cautionary shit.
I can't remember. You sent me some clip for something, but it excuse me, it went straight on autoplay to The Birdcage, actually on YouTube. The whole movie is just on YouTube for free, apparently.
Weird.
I can't remember what you sent me that led me to it. I hopefully I can conjure it up, but The Birdcage, was like, flamboyance and people in drag and all this shit, and it was fucking awesome. They seemed to be having a good time. There wasn't the drugs, the dark side of it. You know what I mean?
Here was one of the factoids. There was 2 Gerardo episodes I saw. One was in 1990. One was in 94. So this kid club scene was going on for years, and they were all on the radar, even of Gerardo, who was tracking them, sort of.
Yeah.
There might have been an episode in between. The first one in 1990, Cassie was on the stage. He was part of this crew. Fucking RuPaul.
Oh, yeah.
Like a 22-year-old RuPaul or some shit.
The director, I think, directed some RuPaul stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, I looked him up, and there wasn't much else. It was kind of all stuff in this.
So, when you're talking about this fabulous drag queens and harmless, RuPaul seems to be exactly that.
Yes, exactly.
And was part of this scene, but it was the drugs, the people who didn't go nuts on the fucking drugs. It's the Wolf of Wall Street. Had all these stories.
Wonderland vibe, just that, again, dark side of a scene that seems like it would be all fun and games, You're
talking like the Val Kilmer.
Oh.
John Holmes Wonderland. Yeah. Sweet. Speaking of which,
I just realized what it was you had sent me that led me to the page. Matinee, 1993 trailer with John Goodman.
You gotta see that shit.
Yes, that looks amazing. That's my next pick.
Oh man, that's a good one. God damn you. Does that mean I gotta do one on air? Fucker.
No, but it'd be great if you did.
I want to cry.
Look at your selection and just randomly pick one.
It ruins it when I know what it is, because then I start trying to pair with it.
Okay, that's my next. Not my next pick. Then.
All right, so maybe someday you'll pick it,
or randomly pick one from your selection without.
Yeah.
Just close your eyes and fucking pin the tail on the donkey.
I do actually. Matinee was the one you picked. I do have a pick that I had already kind of pre-selected.
Okay.
Are we doing picks now? Are we going to try and work these
Sure,
into the
fuck
show
it. I think I've said all I got to say.
All right, it's another movie I've been sitting on.
I got a few notes.
All right, well, here's another movie I've been sitting on that I own. And I've been reading Paul Schrader's posts a lot on Facebook, which are fucking hilarious.
Nice.
First Reformed. Have you seen that?
No.
Came out a couple of years ago. Ethan Hawke is a priest who's like losing his religion type shit. It's supposed to be really fucking good. Paul Schrader wrote and directed. That's my pick.
Okay. What was it called again? Sorry, I got to write
First Reformed.
Okay.
Been meaning to watch it for like 2 years. I've had to do. I got it like on a Black Friday in like fucking 2019 or some shit.
Nice.
Just been sitting on it.
Sweet.
And Mike Morin, who did our alternate Cactus Jack posters and shit, he said I got to watch it like a year ago.
Is your phone dead, by the way?
Wow, you want to know how much time we got?
Yeah, because my timer went off.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, my phone is live. I got 4 minutes and 41 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Left.
So I guess you started later than I thought we started. I don't know. That's weird. Maybe, or I started earlier.
Maybe.
I probably started earlier than when you.
Maybe I said boom, whatever. I thought you were doing it like at the same time.
Yeah.
That's weird. With some weird time warp shit.
Well, it went off. It went off a little while ago. I don't know. That is weird.
Let's talk about the casting and the performances. Because I
think I know what it is. Go ahead.
What?
Nah, not worth.
Well, I was just thinking this Paul Thomas Anderson version of this movie. I was like, would it be a good movie if Paul Thomas Anderson made it with Seth Green and Macaulay Culkin? Or would it be better?
Oh, yeah. No, I'd be into that, man. I thought they were kind of interesting, man.
How much different do you think the performances would be?
I think, though,
if Paul Thomas Anderson, you know what I mean? Would they be
I feel like the director has some control, some influence over that.
They felt kind of phoned in, even though I gave this leeway because it felt like, again, like they were all just playing. So it felt like play instead of real digging in to really be this character. But at the same time, when you see them on Geraldo and shit, they're fucking fake people, dude.
I even saw a comment to that in somewhere that did. I think I read some reviews. That's what it was of Party Monster itself, and people said who said, or someone had said, those who think this isn't realistic, a realistic portrayal of the people and shit.
Right.
You guys just don't know what it was really like. I guess maybe they were even there.
It's just that one dial tweak, maybe.
Yes,
I agree. I mean, I'm talking like 1 out of 10 dial tweak. You know, it's like totally close, but. And then I started thinking, what if like a Michael Pitt played him?
Yes, interesting.
Or something. What if we went like real dramatic type actors, and the Seth Green character was
true.
I don't know, Tobey Maguire, some shit.
Yeah,
you know,
you might be right.
It might be sick, dude.
I mean, I enjoyed watching them do it. I really
Seth
did.
Green's just not. I mean, he's fucking great. I love the dude.
I think he's living one of the best types of Hollywood
Robot
experience.
Chickens and shit.
Yeah, exactly. The Adult Swim shit. You know, he just seems to be having fun. You know.
Yeah, and he's great. I love him, and even like Can't Hardly Wait, shit like that. Just his comedic timing's always been fucking great. I love that dude.
I mean,
Scott
great
Evil,
in Austin Powers, of course. Yes, legend.
Fucking
ass.
But for this, it just felt like a little out of his league. Maybe I hate to say that. I don't even feel good saying it.
I think both of them had some great moments too. Honestly,
right.
Like
and again, it got better for me as it went. So.
Like when Macaulay Culkin told Seth Green that he had killed someone, and he said, but it was an accident, or it was self-defense. And like there was a moment where he like smiled, but you could tell it was like it was coming through. Like, like that was just a lie. What I just said, you know what I mean?
Right. You know what it is? It felt like acting. That's what it is. It felt like acting. And I feel like maybe a PTA or someone like that could have got them to act in a manner that didn't feel like acting. I think that's the main note. It wasn't bad acting. Their choices weren't bad or anything. It just felt a little too transparent. These dudes pretending to be these guys who are pretenders even. Even if they're superficial. It's like a superficial facts of a facts type shit, you know.
Another little factoid or tidbit or whatever was the Dylan McDermott character, Peter Gatien.
That was a weird, like
it was like the black trench coat just
Yeah, they
almost like
look
fucking
too
Dark
cool.
City thing or something.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Dylan McDermott's just such a handsome, but no edge.
It's
and
felt
shit.
out of place.
And you like
Yeah,
a Peter
exactly.
Sarsgaard or some just seedy motherfucker. Like,
Dude, they should totally remake this one the same script even.
do you
I
remember
love that
Dan
concept.
Hedaya? Do you know that guy?
No.
He was like Carla's husband in Cheers and shit. I know you know the actor. He's just skeezy. Some dude like that.
Yeah.
Like not good looking. Just but maybe with the club scene. The guy owned clubs. He could have been good looking and shit.
The real guy seemed kind of geekier looking and shit. I looked it up because I was going to say the actual real person that was based on had an eye patch, and he actually got a settlement because it was a baseball game accident where he lost his eye, and he used that settlement to start his club business, his clubbing business. Crazy. So the eye patch, like the lost eye, is connected to him being a club manager and shit. He used it to actually finance that.
The funny thing is, this is nothing new. They were Studio 54. Before that, you had Andy Warhol.
You're alone, right?
Yeah. Is it cool if I start filming now?
No, what do we get inside?
Why are you here?
I just thought it was really interesting, that someone hasn't left their basement in 6 months, not even to use the bathroom. Is that true?
Why would I want to go out there? I got everything I need right here. That's what's wrong with most people. They're weak-willed pussies and parasites who buy into that whole "it takes a village" bullshit. You know how many aliases I've used calling into radio shows?
I've had it up to my goddamn gills with the systematic feminization of this country.
Army of sports we want to. Get your own damn show if you think you got that much to say.
You live in your mom's basement.
Kid! No! Fuck you! What's so special about my loser son?
You really do hate your own mother.
She's a woman. Why wouldn't I?
There's some disconnect there, and if I can find it, what is hate? Where does it come from? Where does it go?
You want to know what gender you are? Reach down the front of your fucking pants and shoot fucking kite. Black Lives Matter. Do you call horses slaves? Liberal fucktard. Enough with the parades and the rainbow flags.
Dude, this guy's... it's like pure hate, man.
I want to see something really fucking cool.
This guy is a fucking animal. He's got himself on a leash. He's itching to get off that fucking leash. And he's gonna fucking kill some people.
What a fucking show.
Stop!
What do we hear?
Look at me! Look at me!
You're gonna help me show him the light. We're gonna change the world.
This is Cactus Jack coming to you live from a studio audience.
To the man who calls himself Cactus Jack, we have watched as you have rocketed to infamy.
And you wonder why these cornered animals lash out.
Pick a fucking side.
And now, we have watched as you have called for literal blood.
I know you're out there listening. It's buzzing in your ears, burrowing into your brain. Do it.
Jack, you're gonna love this.
I pulled that trigger on that motherfucker's head.
Your VPN will not shield you. The darknet will not hide you. You and your kind are finished.
You think I'm scared of you?
Come and fucking get me!
Might I be your neighbor? Neighbor?